Everything was created 6,000 years ago, and today we're going to read what happened in the first 140 hours of our existence, starting from Genesis 1. 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said that let be light. This is the temporary light. Let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called light night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. And God said, let there be a fault between the waters to separate water from the waters. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. God called the vault sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear. And it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered water He called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit and seed in it, according to their various kind. And it was so. This is what God created many kinds of animals and plants, and that's why we see kinds having its own kinds. And in their kinds, there's variation of God created one kind of thing, and from that kind of thing, there came a lot of diversity of things. You know, many kinds of dogs, many kinds of horse kind, which is in that kind there's horse, there's donkey, there's zebra, and so on. This is why evolution confused as evolution, and because they confuse the variation in each kind as evolution. That's not evolution. It's just same information. I mean, diversity of information in one kind of animals that led to many diversity of animals. And while so, the land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate light from night, and let there serve as signs to mark sacred times and days and years, and let there be lights in the vault of the skies to give light on earth. And it was so. This is when the permanent light was created. The two permanent light, the moon and and the sun. People tend to confuse light as as a machine or something. The light is light produce its own. No, light is a brightness. That's it. And it was so. God made two gray lights, and the gray light to govern the day, and the lazy light to govern the night. And he also made the stars. God set them in the vault of skies to give light on earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning the fourth day. And God said, let the water teem with the living creature, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of sky. So God created the great creatures of the seas, and every living thing with which the water teems and was moved about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful, increase in number, and fill the water in the sea, and let the birds increase on earth. And there was evening, and there was morning the fifth day. This is not the explanation about kind. God created kind and allowed them to produce. He created each kind with diverse information in them. When they produce, when they reproduce, a lot of variety of species comes from it. From each kind, there's many species. Evolutionists tend to confuse as evolution. No, that's it. It's a kind of animal that was created with diverse information to create diversity of animals, species. There's many species in each kind of animals. And let the birds increase on earth, and there was evening and there was morning the fifth day. And God said, let the land produce living creature according to their kinds, the livestock, the creature that move along the earth, the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all creatures that move along ground according to their kinds. Keep repeating the kinds, so people can understand. That's what we see, and that's what makes sense. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so they might rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky. This is the reason God created humans, and rational, able to calculate, to create intent, so we can rule over of the fish, birds, and other animals, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in His own image. That's why you see a lot of difference between humans and animals, because humans were created in God's image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. This is why homosexuality is a perversion. Homosexuality is not even part of creation. It's just abuse of human body. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. And then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. This is how we find out how what is food, what is not food. And to all the rest of the earth, that's how we know, how to feed ourselves. Because it would take we have to know certain knowledge, sort of basic knowledge, in the first 5 minutes of our lives. I mean 5 minutes or 1 day, whatever, to survive. And to all the breath of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God said that He had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Then on the seventh day, God rest as an example to us. We need rest. God doesn't. Every creation, every way God creates things is to be our example. From temporary light, like when we create a building, when we're building a building, we create a temporary light, then we replace it to permanent lights and so on. And this is the narration of what happened in the first 140 hours of our existence, which happened 6,000 years ago.